honor amongst artists, and even the way that everybody kind of set their own template as far as just the way that things go, the fundamentals and just protocol and whatnot. I think it's like you said, it's a different way of behaving. It's a different way of doing business. It's a different way of curating, and I didn't imagine, being a part of something or just having something that existed that allowed people to actually express themselves freely. Because I feel like, not to downplay anybody or just compare anything, but if we're going to talk about something like Tumblr or Instagram, those kind of started out as platforms just to kind of express yourself or share art, or people like-minded people to see each other or explore different points of views. And I think now it's kind of it's kind of converted into a platform just to kind of like make people feel like they're missing out or whatever the case is, or brag or whatever the case is. It's not really about really expressing yourself. So just to have a platform where you could just surf, just to see people that are
Pure
like-minded
art,
people act, yeah, real artistry again,
pure art.
like-minded people again, is just, it's kind of crazy. And it's just like everything else. I'm just hoping that some big corporations or conglomerate or the government, whoever, just doesn't come and just ruin it for all of us.
Yeah, and I think the interesting part about what we did is kind of like it's something that you'd almost have to wait for, like a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame kind of institutional company to do for us. We'd almost have to wait for them to to see the cars from the tour as valuable and
Oh
and
yeah, like
to
memorabilia
put
and
us on.
shit, and
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. But we're
collectible.
we're
Yeah.
doing that direct to consumer, and I feel like that's one of the many different cool applications of NFTs, like where you can kind of like transfer ownership faster, and it's just like it's like direct to market consumer hobby, like and gift shops and having collectibles and stuff like that. I just think it's really cool to that we can do that instead of waiting for to get inducted into a Hall of Fame or something like that. You know?
Absolutely. And also, like the messaging, you can really control the messaging directly. Sometimes that can get intertwined between the middleman, and being able to express it directly to your fans, to your collaborators, to your
To
uh,
the person buying your
yeah,
piece, the
yeah,
consumer. Yeah.
like it's really beautiful to have that direct line of communication. And I think that's also amazing how the technology is happening, right? How we're here with Clubhouse or how it is Twitter. Like, we can really cut through and be direct now. And, in past years, it wasn't set up that way.
Yo, you know what's crazy though? Like the fact motherfuckers is selling porns and porno already on that shit. I think I said, oh shit, it's lit.
That's like it's crazy because like they say porn is like a leader. It helps lead the new mediums that get adopted. Like every step of the way, porn is like one of the things that helps new technology get adopted because people
Porn?
got it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So like so it kind of
How
makes
do you
sense that
correlate? But how does that correlate? I don't understand.
as far as like a VHS tapes got widely adopted
When
in partly because of porn. You know what I mean? Like people wanted to have to own those instead of having to go to a
oh
weird
shit.
sketchy like movie theater and do their business. You know what I mean? So it's like same thing with DVDs, like and internet. Like that. It's always there every step of the way in media to kind of help push it. Because it's like an animal instinct that we need. So I feel like it's always gonna just make itself apparent in whenever there's a shift in digital media, and that was a one of the examples what they did with that, and I thought that was really cool too.
I have another interesting thing. Like Ashley was talking and she was just saying how everything changed from being represented by like a agency or somebody like that, and having a big exhibition on getting the word out and stuff like that. I do think that this does allow true artists and like creative people, like-minded people, to have a platform to express themselves. But what about when you get like flooded by all of the like for lack of just mediocre or just underwhelming kind of art? Or what about whack fucking drops and it's just like flooding the market and shit like that? And it's just like, Ashley, this is another question. How you guys gonna protect the community from just like, essentially this gives
From
anybody the
whackness.
yeah, this gives anybody the platform to be like, yo, I'm making art today. All right, fuck it. I'm gonna just post it on the NFT Nifty Gateway, and hopefully accumulate some type of whatever the case is, or somebody get it out there. But what if it's just like, just like the regular world where the most shit that's being consumed is really the wackest shit ever, like ever. You know what I'm saying? And it's just commercial and shit like that. If you're still there, Ashley, how do you guys kind of prevent that and kind of like funnel that out and filter that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. I mean, it's interesting, right? Because there's two sides to this conversation. It's like who qualifies who to truly decide and decipher what is art, right? I mean, I know because I come from the fine art world, I know some of the leading people at auction houses and museums that get to say what art is. And I don't always agree with it, because what is considered fine art in the traditional art world is somebody that has the ability financially to go to an Ivy League MFA program and go to the right events so that they end up with the right collectors, and then it's this tight net with like it's a tight net community of like people that are only really exposed to those opportunities by having primary wealth or being exposed to certain kind of like availabilities that people from different like areas don't. And so typically like the creative worlds and hubs have always been like New York, Los Angeles, some might say Miami. The verdict's still out there, but I mean, like, there have always been these hubs, like these major cities, Chicago, that have spurred out art. And so if you were pursuing to be a creative, you had to go to those places for opportunities. So now what we've done is we've said, okay, and I reviewed an artist today who's from Nigeria, 14-year-old kid, incredible Nigerian artist who would never have the opportunity for this exposure if it wasn't for the digital capabilities that we offer. So it's like you want to strike a balance, right? You want to practice and foster inclusion, but you also want to keep a level of curatorial, kind of like a curatorial lens on how you go about who's involved. So at Nifty Gateway, you can't just go to market. We are the only platform that one of the only, I should say, that you can't just go to market. You also can't just you can't just get a drop, right? So you can make a submission, but for the most part we've closed our submissions and we're booked out for the year. So then it becomes
Damn.
like, yeah, then it becomes like, okay, now that we're at a place where we can be selective about content, it's not like we're going to say what's what. We're going to give these opportunities to certain people who have the meet certain criterias, but then it's still not like, oh, you're given a hand out. You
Hmm.
Most of the artists have to give us like an overview of a drop concept, which is like what are you trying to put to market? Why are you trying to put it to market? And what are you trying to accomplish long term in the space? Like we are one of the only platforms where each artist gets assigned a producer. So in case you didn't know, I'm your producer at Nifty Gateway. And
It's lit.
and when
Ashley,
yeah,
shout out to
and when
Ashley.
you go ahead, John.
No, I said shout out to Ashley.
Oh, right. Thank you. um but then what do producers do thereafter is they work with a creative. I work with some of the higher level creatives, but we have producers that work with all level creatives. And and then you say, hey, what do you want to do this year, and how can I help you get there? How can we strategically map out 2 or 3 drops this year, and how are we going to build a narrative? Like we can start here, we could grow. You want to progress, what do you want to do on your second drop that helps you progress to get to your third drop? So it's like it's a long-term strategy with us. But yeah, there are platforms where anybody can just go. Like OpenSea is known for that, but they're respected and revered in many ways, and I respect OpenSea. But you could just go to market there, and OpenSea is important, right? Because that's how you tell someone there's a place where you can lay down your first step. Like even if you're not a big NFT artist, or you don't know everything there is to know about digital art, or you're not in the politics of it, like don't be intimidated. If you're 14 years old and you're trying to figure out Illustrate, go to OpenSea, get your feet wet. Like, there is a place for everybody in this community, and I think that democratization of this is what's really everyone's so excited about.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And Rakim, I just wanted to ask you, how much money would it take for me to kiss your ass?
Yo, what the fuck?
I just want to.
My bad. I I'm up out of here. I don't know who that guy.
What's up, Gallardo? What's up, John? What's up,
What's
Flacco?
up?
What's poppin'?
Good
What
to
up,
see you
man?
guys.
But
What's
yeah, just
happening, Eric?
going back to
Yo,
what,
what's
what we were
happening,
talking.
Rakim?
What's
Yeah, what?
good?
Let's rewind that.
But yeah, going back to what we were talking about, it's basically like I think that's kind of what SoundCloud did for music. You know, it kind of allowed people, anybody in their bedroom, and it kind of brought back, you know, bedroom pop in a way. And I feel like that could definitely happen with how open the NFT space is. I think so. There's a balance between having like highly curated like drops and having just anybody be able to do anything, because I feel like that really adds to the whole environment. You know, for to be able to discover new artists that are maybe are undervaluing themselves. You know, and kind of getting in early on new artist careers. So I think there's something to it that could be that's going to be a net positive for art in general.
Nah,
You
hell
dig?
yeah, I think it's dope because when we did the tour, obviously like it got shortened because I went to jail in Sweden, and those cars we always originally planned on donating them or doing something, some type of like giveaway or whatever the case was. And just to have a platform now to 2 years later to be able to put the cars on there, display them, showcase them, working really hard on that. It just felt really good to me, and that's a real big reason why I feel like I chose to go that direction as far as the NFT this year, because I felt like that was just one of those art pieces that I made that I didn't get to all the way fulfill, like get to see carry out. It was just like my shit was shortened with Sweden and whatnot, and it's just like-minded people. I'm quite sure this should probably spark a lot of people. Like, yo, we all involved in art some way, one way or another, and shit like that. And I think it's dope that now it kind of gives people. As an artist, I'm a big artist and known, so people always assume like it's just like a big machine behind you, or it's a bunch of people giving you ideas and whatnot. And I think a platform like this is definitely important for just showing individualism. And look at what we did as Awge. Look at what I did with this shit. Look at what we did in the past 2 years ago. It still gives a place, and it's just like
Yeah, to speak.
wow.
It's like we get to. It's like almost like a Revenge of the Nerds, because you get to come back with stuff that and make and give it a place that didn't really have a place before. You know, artists that have been making art for the past 10 years are now able to have a home for their art. You know, so I agree with you.
Yeah. Well, that's one of my favorite things about this. And like the most famous example of this is the illustrator behind the Nike swoosh. Like, if that illustrator would have had NFT technology way back then, they would be one of the most successful artists in the world. But they didn't get any activity or receive any benefits of the spoils of what that check ended up doing on a marketing scale thereafter. And like, some would argue that visible representation of Nike is what built the brand. Like, you see a check mark or a swoosh, it's Nike. But that artist, was underserved and underpurposed, and that's what this technology is really here for. It's for the people who were underserved and underpurposed for a really long time, and community. you know I think, like, Rakim, what I've always really admired about you is like, you show everyone love. It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna come up. You were like, I'm gonna come up and I bring my whole mob with me. Like, it's not just me. And so you gave every member who of your crew who rocked with you like notoriety through you and through your accomplishments. And that's like the highest form of community building. And that's what we do, like at Nifty Gateway and in the NFT world, is we build communities around these creatives.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad to be a part of the community right now. You know what I'm saying? And Ashley and everybody at, Nifty Gateway, thank you so much for y'all help and participation with this shit,